Hello and welcome. Today we're back at Jacarepagua, the 1988 layout. Last time we were in the Volkswagen Passat Copa B class car. Today we're going to be in the Copa Bs again, but with the Mini Cooper. And we're with the Mini Cooper to see how the Passat and the Mini compare with each other. So we've got an exact duplicate of the last race we did with the Passat. It's a 1 hour 40-minute race on the 9th of March 2025, starting at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. We've got times 15 time progression and therefore times 15 weather progression as well. We've got real weather, a rolling start, pit stop refueling allowed, no mandatory pit stop, and a default progressing circuit. Again, we've got a full grid of Copa B, so 40 cars in total, including us, on 110 skill level this time. With the Passat we were 105, but to make this a race I've had to make it 110 because the Mini's just that bit quicker. 1.00 wet skill scaler, and I've kept it that way to keep it consistent between the two races. Medium aggression, standard mistakes, and we'll be starting from plumb last. Rules and penalties apply. I get 10 track limit warnings. We'll be fine for that here. That's absolutely fine. So I'm recording this after I've done the race. I know what's coming up. If you stick with it, because it is a long race, and I appreciate it's a long race, but if you stick with it, you're in for an absolute corker of a race. So strap yourself in. Hope you enjoy it. I'll see you at the end. Cheeky, but the door was open. A little bit of curb. So for clarity, I've got it on the medium fuel mix. Look how much quicker the Mini is compared to the back markers. Got a big speed advantage on these guys at least. We'll see how it compares with the front runners, hopefully a bit later if we can get up there. So our race is really with the other Mini, because we are going to have to make an extra stop compared to the other cars. So we'll see exactly where we end up at the end. Is going to be quite interesting. But I've tried to balance the AI so that I'm the same sort of pace as the other Mini in the race. I need to be careful here because my engine temperature is getting quite high already. It's already 115. Nice. So if it gets much more than that, we're at risk of engine failure. And you'll find that where the ambient temperature is over 30, and you're on a circuit that's got lots of long straights or high revving areas where the engine's working very hard, you'll find that the engine is susceptible to failure in the Mini. Which is why I've got it on medium fuel mix, but that's not going to be enough on its own. I'm also going to have to manage it with my throttle input, so I'm going to not use full throttle. So currently I'm on 75% throttle, and you can see we're still quicker than this Gol here. Just, you know, we're holding station even at 75% throttle. So there's something weird about this car is such an outlier in this class when there's absolutely no need for it to be that way. Now we've got the bigger fuel tank capacity in the vintage Mini. There's no reason why we couldn't have it in this car. And actually, if Reiza were to knock, say, 5 horsepower off of the Mini, maybe lean off the fuel mixture a little bit as standard, then that's handy. Then you'll probably find that then the cooling issues would be fixed as well. It would basically solve the racing situation, which is that then the Mini would then be on par with everything else around it rather than above it. It would give it the ability to run a longer stint, and it would also give it the ability to run in warmer conditions like the other cars can as well. So there, crossing the line, it was 120 degrees. So that's too high. If I carry on doing that, then the car will fail. So I need to just be mindful, not necessarily back off, but I've got to get my lap time through corner speed, not through mashing the throttle. So be shifting up a little bit earlier, perhaps not necessarily using full throttle in the long straight. But it's going to be very difficult because the other Mini is going to be steaming up towards the front of the grid. So, and I've got to try and keep up with it somehow. So you'll notice that the screen has also had a bit of a change around. So we've got the relative now, so you can see that to help you track the race a little bit better. And then the weather forecast has been shifted over there to the right hand side. Yeah, it was noted that it was quite difficult to follow the race in terms of positions of other cars in the previous race with the Passat, sorry. So yeah, just trying to do something about that. And I've also got another scene set up, which I'll show you in just a moment in OBS, that then will show you the current timing in the second monitor app. So if we have a quick look at the times now, so there's the times, that's the current positions. Up for a lap or so. So the Mini is just up there, turning left into that next corner now. We're not doing too bad. Easy, 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 easy. Getting sucked into their race. that was it. Bit of contact there, it's a shame. We're doing clearing this lot really. Let's get the fuel map up a little bit. Spend a little bit of temperature, 121 degrees, don't like that too much. But if we can clear this lot, that would be amazing. Up and ready, wasn't it? Let's get the fuel mix back down again. I think that was worthwhile using that bit of temperature. Cleared quite a few cars there, didn't we? See if we can get the goal into the next corner. So if we can clear this goal, this Volkswagen now, that would be great. I can then chill out a little bit and just try and get everything back under control again. Okay, right. So the Mini's in third now, and they are 6 seconds up the road. So let's take that away. We've got some rain coming in about 10 minutes time. That Puma absolutely sent it up the inside then, didn't it? The ambient temperature's dropped a little bit, but that will help us out as well. It's now under 30, so it means we should be able to push a little bit harder. engine temperature is 113 at the moment, so that's pretty good. That's a nice, good temperature for this part of the straight to be that low. I might look to increase it to the high fuel mix now. So with the weather being set to real weather, the time being on -15, it means that the weather progresses at -15 as well. So if we see, as soon as we see the rain coming in the next section in the weather widget, we will need to consider pitting even if the track is still dry, depending on the position on the circuit we're at. Coming very soon. Less than 5 minutes now. Some lights on. See that one lap with the rich fuel mixture, the engine temperature is now 120. That makes that much difference. So I've pushed for one lap and it's given me a delta increase of 7 degrees. Push there on the Chevette behind us. Okay, right, we're pitting this lap. I've already got the pit strategy set up for wets. I will just double check that actually, just yes, okay, cool. Right, so we'll come in this lap. Ooh, for wets. Ooh, bit of debris there. Maybe a bit early on the pit limiter there, but I'd rather be safe than sorry, especially on a race of this length. So in the in-car menu now, I'll leave it for now, but on the way out I'll change it to slicks for when it dries out. I assume we'll be needing slicks again next. We should do if this is a carbon copy of the last race, so. Change those to slicks. Right, so we're ready for the next stint now. And hopefully we'll be seeing some rain very soon, otherwise I'll look a little bit silly. I think I just saw a spot of rain then. Yes, there's a bit of rain there. Yep. Yes. Right, good. Phew. Right. So do you see there, the track is already now moist just after that very short period of time. That's why I wanted to pit so much sooner than the others. It looks a little bit silly when you're pitting when the track is bone dry, but by the time you finish that lap, you'd have been really pushing it. But we'll see. If they come in now, looks like they're going round again, doesn't it? If you look at the track map there, it looks like they're going round again. Oh no, fifth place has come in again. Oh, look at the windscreen there, the way that the water is on the outside of the windscreen there. I'll race that with Reiza. The untouched part of the screen is clearing. Not a lot of grip. But for those leaders to do an extra lap, I mean, I'm on wets and look at how the car is being. They must be all over the place to be able to be on slicks in this. Right, let's get the lap chart up so you can then track the gap between myself and the leaders. Did you see that big bolt of lightning? So we've got another 10 minutes or so of this. Sorry, we've got 5 minutes, sorry, of this rain. 10 minutes and when we'll get some fog. Yes, we've got less than 5 minutes of rain. Now I need to be careful here because I don't want to have to make 3 more stops. If the same format comes as the Passat race, which it should do in theory. So, cool, that was a big bolt. If I pit for slicks too early, then I won't be able to make it to the end of the race on one more stop of fuel. So I might need to hang out on wets for longer than I would like. But if I can get to 1 hour 5 minutes or so left of the race on these wets, then I should be able to get to the end of the race on one extra stop. Because the mini fuel tank will only do about 30-35 minutes. So there's the other Mini there. So that's good. We're now in line with that Mini. And really, that Mini is our race today. I don't know what the situation is going to be with the Unos at the front of the field. We're in P3, so these two here these two are our race. But for us to beat Torres, we are going to have to gap him by a pit stop. We've got to, basically from this point now, we've got to gain a pit stop on him somehow. Right, let's well, basically our race starts now. Yeah, we've got to gain a pit stop now on him. So the wet skill scaler has been left at 1.00 because that's how it's fair with the Passat race. Because the main reason for doing this race is to do a back-to-back comparison between the Passat and the Mini and how they race and handle. So I've left the wet skill scaler at 1.00 and it looks like the Mini is also unaffected, so we're still quicker in the wet than what they are. Got a nice gap now to the other Mini, but as we saw in the Passat race, the transitional part of the race where the track is drying, they have the edge on us. So this is far from over. Right, can we get another 10 minutes of this before we have to pit? Right, I think we can get rid of that now, can't we? We can just use the relative now to gauge our gap to those two behind us. At the moment the track is still fully wet, isn't it? Really messed it up, didn't I? It's getting very slippery now, which is weird. It's still fully wet track, but it's really dropped in grip level. But you can just see on the track it's starting to dry. But I don't really want that yet because I've still got... I'm not ready for that yet. Stay wet for longer, please. You can see the dry line appearing. Stay on the wet bit a bit longer. Bit of a mistake there for me. So, where are we? We've got... it's a healthy gap. It's a healthy gap now to second and third. But I think we're going to lose some of that, because I think we are going to have to hang it out a bit too long. Because ideally I'll probably be looking to pit this lap, if I had the choice. So if not this lap, then certainly the next lap. But there's enough of a dry line now that you could conceivably go onto slicks. But if I do that, there's a good chance I won't make the end of the race. Well, make the end of the race on that one extra stop. See, they're the tyres, they're just... they shouldn't do this. They're not overheated, they're just like... they've just got no grip, but... I don't know. It seems a bit excessive. They should have less grip, yes. But it does seem a little bit excessive. Let's put these times back on again so you can now see who's... because we're going to start seeing people pitting again, so I'll put that on so you can track that. So in the window you've got there, there's a pits column, and you can use that to see how long they stopped for. So I believe the time that they have in there is relative to my pit stop time that's planned. Right, let's have a quick look at, just make sure. So we're changing all tyres to slicks, and we're going to refill the tank. Okay, that's what we're doing. I think one more lap after this and we'll trigger that stop. This is definitely slicks weather now. Wake up, Andy. That'll get your attention. Yeah, so after this lap we should be into the 1 minute 5s left. Sorry, 1 hour 5 minutes left bracket, which then should give us enough wiggle room in the fuel to then get back home with one last fuel stop and possibly change front tyres only, but we'll see how we get on. With a 20-second lead now, this has been a great stint for us. With a 20-second lead, I don't think we're going to need to worry about the extra tyres, but we'll see. As I say earlier, the transitional phase, whilst the track is drying and you're on slicks, they seem very, very, very fast. But interestingly, on wets on a dry tyre, we seem to be better than they are. Even though I'm complaining that they feel a bit jellyish. the last lap was a 2:29. Do you know what, actually? My complaint might not be valid because they should be around about 10 seconds a lap slower, I would say, on a dry circuit, wets to slicks. And they are about 9 seconds slower. So maybe my complaint isn't valid at all. Maybe I might need to reconsider this. I need to go away and do some more testing, don't I? Because at the moment they're being managed perfectly fine. And they are behaving okay at the moment. So they do feel jelly-ish, but they are working, they are producing the results. So maybe it's just a feeling thing. Right, let's oh, I need to move that the pit board. That was a really good stint for us. We've got about probably just over half of what we need gap-wise on the cars behind us to actually make this work and be in with a shout of a win here. Keep it on the grey bits, not, well, the light grey bits. There's so much more positivity, even when they're cold. We'll leave the times up for the moment because we'll let all the pit stops play out. And then that way you can see where people are and how it's all shaken out. So we actually pitted and came out ahead of the other Mini, who has stopped again, so they're genuinely 13 odd seconds back now, 11 seconds back. And it wouldn't surprise me to see that 11-second gap disappear over the course of the next hour or so. Easy. Also, so if you look at the bottom of the screen there, the section that's all lit up in red, so we will need to stop again for fuel, and when we stop, currently we need 22 litres to get to the end of the race. And that's a 26 litre tank, so we've got a 4 litre wiggle room to play with. Okay, I think everyone's done their stop, haven't they? There's no one there with a plus or minus. So let's get rid of that. Don't need that anymore. So we've got a 10-second gap to Rivas and a 17-second gap to Torres. Now our gap to Torres needs to be bigger than that, really, to be comfortable anyway. And we haven't got rain due, so we've got 60 minutes in the race to go, and we haven't got rain due until another 75 minutes, so we won't see any more rain, in theory. So we're on a drying track to the end of the race now. Sort of between second and third through there. I was considering changing down to second, but with the engine temperatures needing to be watched out for, I think third is probably the best. Watch that gap to Rivas behind us. Easy, easy. Too quick in, bit too wide on entry, bit too quick. I would also like to try and get away without changing the front tyres as well. So I kind of want to, it's a bit of a juggling act really. I need to try and make sure that I can build a gap on Torres, maintain my engine temperature reasonably, and manage the tyres so I don't need to change them again. Scrubbing the front a little bit there, that's not ideal. It's going to be very tight. our gap to Torres is slightly increasing, I think. We can maintain this sort of 7.5 to 10 second gap to Rivas in the other Mini. I might consider changing front tyres at the pit stop as well. Easy. Sorry, I was looking at the fuel there. It's saying that our next stop is going to need 25 litres. We're starting to get a little bit tight, aren't we? So we'll have to add fuel management to the list of things to think about. At least the engine temperature is okay whilst it's still 24 degrees. Just lost the rear a little bit there, but it actually helped me out a little bit. It set the car up quite nicely. The other guys up on the screens just so you can see where they're up to, where they are. previous and the other Mini is still hovering around about the same sort of gap. He's slightly closer. Torres is about 20 seconds back. And it's, yeah. So we're doing alright. I think we're doing okay here. We're in with a shout of the win here, I think. But it's going to be very, very close. I think I prefer third through there. That's close, wasn't it? That was really close. Still only 10 to 3 in the morning. Thought it was getting more daylight, but it's not, is it? Clearly not. pushing your luck there, Andy. So I think this pace is good enough to beat the other Mini, but I don't know if it's good enough to beat Torres. I'm not sure. We've got I'm not sure. I'm going to have to start getting my pit stop ready, aren't I? So we don't want all tyres, we want fronts only potentially, but I'm not even sure about that yet. So let's leave slicks for now. We will put a full tank in, 26 litres. It says 25 will get us home, but that's going to have worked that out based upon a period of wet weather running, so that's not necessarily going to be 100%, so I'd rather add a little bit extra in there. Yeah, so it's just a question of do we want to change tyres. We're on right front is at 91%, left front's at 92%. Changing front tyres is about 8 seconds. Do I really want to give up 8 seconds? Sure, I do. Torres is 22 seconds behind now. The trouble is that by the time it gets daytime again, we're going to have to start managing the temperature of the engine as well. Oh, this is awful. I don't know. I think Torres is in the pound seat here. So at the moment I've set it to say don't change tyres, just give me 26 litres of fuel. just give you a bit of indication on timings. So the other Mini is closed up about 9 seconds on us, which is okay, I don't mind that. We need to pit. We've got about 8-9 minutes of fuel left, so we should see us through, and we can pit any time between sort of after about 35 minutes of the race remaining. We should be okay. Looks really cool, doesn't it? I like that. The silhouette of the mountains is really cool. Turn the lights off. No, let's put them back on again. Not quite light enough yet, are we? Now it's saying we need 26 litres, so I'm going to have to knock the medium fuel mixer back in. Do I change tyres? so we can make one more lap. That was silly. Very silly mistake. And the other Minis, I was hoping the other Mini was going to pit this lap so I could see how long their pit stop was, if I wanted to change tyres or not. Right, so currently we are just fuel. Right. Thanks, mate. I did squeeze him a bit there, didn't I? Alright, let's see where we come out. I think we're going to be quite a way behind. It's going to be a struggle, this. Whereabouts are we? I'll leave the timings up for a bit longer. That's them. That's them. No need for the timing. That's our race ahead of us. Right. Let's just get our head down and see if we can get this gap closed. Come on. Come on. No. Come on, Andrew. I need for that. Right. We've got half an hour. Make it count. Let's not forget the other Mini behind us as well. The car behind us isn't actually a Mini, it's actually a Puma. And I need to watch the temperatures now. Now that the air temperature's gone up close to 30, we're going to be pushing the engine temperatures again. That actually might be our Achilles heel though. Our race might be for third here. We'll do what we can. So the Puma behind is very fast. I'd say slightly quicker than me actually. He's caught me anyway, so yeah, he's quicker than me. Oh! One of the Unos has gone. Right. Second. Puma's looking very ominous. Oh, he's gone off, that's good. Ran a bit wide though. pushing that engine temperature very hard. I can't push like this to the end of the race. But the race win is there, it's right there. Not if I do that though. Traffic might help us out a little bit, hopefully. Trouble ahead. I don't think we're closing fast enough, are we? And the engine temperatures are creeping up. Minutes to go. The car is fast enough. I just think it's gonna detonate if I keep pushing it like this. But I'd rather kill it and finish and not finish and know that I tried. Come on. lap traffic. Hopefully it's going to help us. Hopefully. Bit wide. Got the Puma on my arse again. That's very good through there. Well, that lap traffic didn't really hold up the Uno very much at all, did it? Oh, the Puma's gone off again. Fantastic, right? Gives us a bit of a respite. That's good. Didn't lose much time with that traffic at all. Just a bit of a shame. That's put paid to that, I think. Struggling with the front tyres now. That Puma's that's gonna hound us now. It's just gave me a little push. Puma's doing really, sorry, the Uno's doing really well. right there. Too early there. Sorry, not talking. Sorry, not sorry. And now I've got to look after these temperatures. And I've got to watch out for that Puma as well. Actually went for it then. Not a gap, mate, not a gap. Right, so the Puma is now... It's the Puma we really need to worry about here. Crikey, that changed quickly, didn't it? That escalated. So it's 3 minutes 40 to go. 2 more laps in. Over yet. There's another Puma there as well. There's a second Puma fighting with that Uno now as well. So the Pumas have looked after their tyres, haven't they? They're a rear-engined, rear-wheel drive car. They've looked after their front tyres. Ours, both the Uno and mine, are both absolutely knackered. Oh, he was on the curb and everything then. Right, one more lap. Right, fuel mix up. Let's do it. So I've got the fuel mix up, but I'll still drive easy on the throttle. See, it's that other, and it's the other Puma that's just been noticed that's now second. It's got some pace on it. Ah, crap. If it's closed up that gap that quickly, it's got some real pace on it. block that off. Don't think so, mates. Ruined his run onto the straight as well. I didn't get on the throttle quite as early, and so he got a run, but he couldn't use it. He had nowhere to go with it. Awesome. Right, hopefully that should be enough. Come on. Oh, he's gone on the curb as well. Leave it third. I was thinking about going to second here, but I think I'll leave it third. But no, they're very good out of this corner, aren't they? Just make sure of it. Yeah, he's not getting this now. Not unless he does something superhuman, or I do something really stupid. Yes. Awesome. Oh, that was great. That was really good. I enjoyed that. Got the AI balance absolutely bang on, didn't I? I'm really happy with that. Yeah. Right. Let's put the times up so you can see where we were. So that's the times there are how it was at the end of the race. The other Mini ended up being 8th and 39 seconds down. I wonder if they changed tyres. Right, let's skip that cool down though. Right, so we got it by 0.646 ahead of the blue, well, the gold coloured Puma at 1.3, and then the Uno that was ahead of us was 1.5 seconds down in the end. Yeah, next car after that was 20 seconds off, and there's our other Mini. Fantastic. Right, okay, I will be back in just a minute. Or well, it'll be a couple of days for me, but I'll see you in just a second, and we'll digest what we've got to think about. Right, I can't even talk properly. I'll see you in just a second. Well, I hope you really enjoyed that race. I know I most certainly did. Racing in this class, in any car it seems, never seems to fail for providing a really, really good race. They're not the fastest, but they are just so much fun to drive and to race with. So it's been a long time since so this race was done nearly a week ago. It's taken me that long to get around to just doing the summary. I've got a number of things to talk about, but I'm going to try and keep it as brief as I can. I've got to get this video out at some point. So I'll start off with my personal driving errors. So in the last race I did with the Passat here, there was a number of driving errors from me, and yeah, uncharacteristic errors, things that I wouldn't normally expect of myself, but these errors are creeping in because of the manual clutch usage now, and wanting to see these improve. And I'm glad to say in this race, whether it was just my comfort in the car or not, I'm not sure, but there was a lot less errors in this race. So in this race, from what I recall, there was one half fumbled shift, an upshift on the early part of this back straight here. I had a slight run off onto the grass just after here when I was really pushing on very worn tyres towards the end of the race. And although this was the second run of this race, I don't really think it had that much of a benefit in terms of how many mistakes you saw from me. I don't think it was like I'd learned from my mistakes in the first race. I don't think that was the case. And if anything, I had so much more to think about and shuffle around in my head and calculate in this race compared to what I did with the Passat. It was much busier up here than it was with the Passat. So the scope for driving errors, I think if anything, was more with the Mini than it was with the Passat. So that I managed to knock it back on the number of mistakes I saw. I'm really quite pleased with that. So very, very pleased about that. Now, I've got to say this. So for all, this is how I've written it down. For all my bitching about the Mini speed and fuel tank, it didn't detract from a brilliant race, did it? And that's absolutely fair, and it is an absolutely fair comment. And if you were Reiza, you would say, the race was great, mate. What are you on about? There's no need to change it. And that would be a completely fair argument, and it would be quite difficult to argue against. But I would counter with, but would it have been better if the Mini had been balanced with the other cars in the class, where it wasn't such a sprint race? Because would it have been better to have more of an endurance style race? And I honestly don't really know the answer to that. It's a bit of a tricky one, that. But deep down, I'm just not really a fan of having an outlier in a class like this. And I just prefer in a class like this to have the cars balanced. And you know, for me it's a bit like TCR or the British touring cars. You know, if you had an outlier car in that, it would just be very, very strange. Alright, granted, they're not TCRs and they're not British touring cars, but we don't have those. So this is a nice way of trying to mimic what you see there, but with a really cool classic car. And although my opinion is that it'd be better if it was balanced, it doesn't mean that the game is right. It doesn't mean the game is wrong. And equally the same for my argument. It doesn't mean I'm right, it doesn't mean I'm wrong, it's just an opinion. It really does come down to personal preference now, and it would be interesting actually to hear what, if you've made it this far in the video, what side of the fence you're on when it comes to that, because I've spoken to a couple of people and they are on the same side of the fence as I am, it seems, and one of the people I spoke to is also, he runs a group, a league, and their opinion is also of the same. So it would be interesting to see what you guys think if you've made it this far and you've heard this bit. If you could let us know in the comments what your opinion is. If you prefer to have the tortoise and the hare, you know, that sort of sprint style race, because really for the Mini it's a double stint sprint where the other cars are on like a more endurance sort of style, look after the tyres type race. But yeah, for me personally, I like to have an equal opportunity for all the cars that are in there. So right, let us know. Moving on. So also, I've done a lot of bitching about the wet tyres being very, very fragile. But in this race, I thought they held up really well. So during the wet stint, at the end of that, I had to run on a drying track for longer than I would normally like. And actually I felt like I could have gone for longer. So I think I need to go away. I need to wind my neck in, zip it up a little bit, go away and do a bit more testing and just see what I can find, because the lap times were about where I would expect them to be. They were about 9-10 seconds off the dry pace. So the track was dry pretty much on wets, and it was about 9-10 seconds a lap slower than a proper dry pace. So and they seem to be able to maintain that quite nicely. So I think I've got some work to do. I need to wind my neck in and I'll do some more testing, and once I've got some proper conclusions, I'll then come back to the subject again. Until then, yeah, zip it up. So, yes, so this race I had to have the AI strength cranked up. So the Passat race was 105, this was 110. So that 5 points represents, whoops, that needs to be mentioned, that 5 points represents quite a step up in pace. So for example, I would have written down here, so the race time for the Passat over 1 hour and 40 minutes was 41 laps in 1 hour, 42 minutes, 19.4 seconds. This mini race was 41 laps in 1 hour, 41 minutes, 3.2 seconds. So that is it's basically a minute and 15 seconds faster in the Mini compared to the Passat. And that includes an extra pit stop. That is massive. So the fastest lap with the Passat was a 2 minutes 23.7, and the fastest lap with the Mini was a 2 minutes 22.2, 1.5 seconds fastest lap. And very few of my laps in this race were slower than the fastest lap I set with the Passat. So it really is, it's an awful lot of time. Now granted, with the Passat there was maybe 7 or so seconds of errors on my part to take into that. Even then, it's still 1 minute and 7 seconds or so, you know. It's a massive gap over that distance of race. So the Mini's clearly faster, and it looks after its tyres just as well or better. So with the Passat race, the last stint was done on a full tank of fuel, which is about 50 odd litres with the Passat, and we didn't change tyres throughout that stint. In this race I didn't change tyres in that last stint, but I used up 2 full tanks of fuel, which equates to about 51-52 litres. So the Mini never ran on really heavy tanks, so the car is generally, at its worst, 25-26 kilos lighter than what the Passat would be in terms of its fuel load. So that would help with its tyre wear. So at the end of the race we caught and passed what was the lead Uno relatively comfortably, but the Pumas were really good. And on that subject, so sorry, I should just go back a little bit. For me, for the Mini to be a minute and 15 seconds, let's just call it a minute and 10 for the mistakes from the Passat. So for the Mini to be a minute and 10 seconds faster over that race, to me that suggests it does need balancing. It is out of whack. If you were a league, there would be no point running anything other than the Mini. At this stage, you wouldn't run the Passat, would you? And it takes away from the mixture and the ability to have a really cool mixed up race. And I'll get into that now, because the other cars that featured in this race, so the Unos, they were really fast, but they seemed to struggle for tyre life on the front, especially in that final stint. If they've got to do a full stint, a full fuel, a full fuel tank on one set of tyres, their fronts suffer, and they sprint away, and if they're not really mindful of those front tyres, they will come back to you later on. You just got to play the long game. Then you've got the Puma, which is a long stint ninja, absolutely wicked. It's never really truly got the ultimate pace, but its lap time variance from the start of a stint to the end of a stint on a full tank of fuel seems to be really quite small, and they come into play at the end of the race, the end of the fuel stint, absolutely brilliantly, and it changes, it makes the race. I mean, that at the end of this race, my full focus was on the Uno. I didn't even really recognise the Pumas as a threat until it was almost too late. And as it turns out, it wasn't the Uno I should have been worried about. It should have been the Pumas. And they sneak up on you, and they're there. And once they're there, there's very little you can do about it. And it made it really exciting, and it was brilliant. It was so nice to have everything balance out at the end. And for me, the way that the Mini is, it's too far removed. Yes, you can argue, well, it's balanced out because you're very close at the end, but it's so extreme that it takes a particular race setup for it to all work out. Whereas with the other cars, I don't think you'd need such a particular race setup to achieve it. That happened a lot as well, where the Puma was running off the edge of the circuit. But it was really, really cool. Now the other cars, the Chevette, the Gold, the Passat, in terms of the AI pace, they never really competed. They weren't there. They were sort of mid-pack backwards, weren't they? And they never really sort of broke through to the lead of the race. And I think they probably need a little bit of a leg up, or everything else needs a little bit of a bump down. And it's not just in this race either. Generally speaking, it's quite rare to see those running at the very front of the field. It's normally the Unos, the Pumas and the Minis. And if it's a sprint race, which is less than half an hour, it's always the Minis at the front. As soon as you go beyond 35 minutes, the Minis have to stop for fuel, and then they're nowhere.com. So if you had a race that was 38, 40 minutes long, let's say 40 minutes long, the Mini would have to stop for fuel, and then it would then be well down the field. So it's, yeah, it just needs a bit of balancing. Yeah. So there's a couple of things for Reiza to look at. So the Mini windscreen in the rain, the outside section outside of the wipers reach was self-clearing. So there's something there to look at. I'll put a link in the description, or I'll put a lap reference in the description. The other Mini had a sudden surge of pace, I believe, leading up to its stop for slicks. It gradually caught us and then suddenly switched on a bit of extra speed. Maybe it had a bit of fuel extra to burn that it could. The first corner, I think the AI ran onto the inside of the circuit a little bit. The first right after the back straight, so you got the long back straight, the very fast left that I made that small mistake on, and then you got a flick right to a flick left. Well, that flick right, the AI would take a massive lunge at me, numerous occasions, numerous cars, to have an overtake, and then they ended up riding up on the inside of the curb on the grass, and it all got a bit smelly for them. Thankfully they never actually hit me though, which is nice. The last corner saw, the second to last corner saw multiple cars have issues. We just saw it in the replay there with the red, I think it was a red Chevette, but they seem to hit the inside curb, and it's quite an aggressive curb, and they can roll and have lots of issues, or spins or whatever. So the second to last corner needs a little bit of looking into. And also the Puma, we saw at the end of the race, ran wide multiple times on the exit of the last corner onto the start-finish straight. So I will put lap references for each of those in the description so that Reiza can get to it quickly. But yeah, other than that, I think that pretty much sums it up. Yeah, thank you so much. If you've made it this far, well done. Credit to you. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Appreciate the support. But yeah, thank you for watching. Thanks for supporting. And until the next time, we'll see you later.